Hey, we're live.
Hello.
We're live with much less promo than we normally do. So, surprise for people who didn't know and find this later. Thanks for joining us.
I'm just winging it.
We're winging it today. We are having an interesting time living in this lockdown police state.
The hardest locked down place in North America.
In North America, yeah. Yeah. Pretty hardcore.
Supposedly.
Allegedly. But, you live free, you live free. A lot of your freedom is in you. And I got to say that because we have cultivated that, we don't go through the waves of stress that actually a lot of people in the population do, to be real. So I don't want to give the impression that I psychologically feel like I'm living in a police state, because I don't, because I'm free. But I do acknowledge the grave sense of danger that has created for a lot of people.
Yes.
But let's not start there. Let's start at how much this attempt to make Ontario a police state has awakened people here, because it's been very notable. I mentioned this in a video I threw on Instagram and YouTube today. Really, I gotta say, you can see the gradients of like people starting to wake up. Like, we are seeing people who were hardcore all the way starting to speak out against the lockdowns here. What I saw today at Dufferin Grove Park was, for example, masked families, fully masked families arriving at the park, but they're arriving at the park to play on the playground that they were just told is closed for a COVID lockdown. So you're seeing civil disobedience, you're seeing dissent from families who are like, we will stay masked, we will social distance, but we're going to that playground. That's what I saw. It was like people who follow the rules all the way still saying, no, absolutely not. And so while I implore you parents to please take the masks off your children, I will say that it was a great pleasure to see families, even fully masked families, standing up against these draconian lockdown measures that suddenly said playgrounds are dangerous and somehow playgrounds are going to spread COVID.
And then giving the police power to stop you.
That was the major announcement. The announcement was the police have now been given power to randomly stop people to ensure that they are following stay-at-home orders, to ensure that they are only out of their home for essentials. And that's another beautiful part of this push to make Ontario a police state was the response from police, which has been overwhelmingly positive. We're talking like Toronto Police, the Halton and Peel Region Police.
I think there's at least like 20
huge number
cities now.
Yes.
Or sort of areas that the police cover. But I saw Simcoe, I saw Sudbury, Dufferin.
All these police forces openly saying we will not enforce these lockdown measures. We will not be stopping people and asking where they're going. We will not be doing any of this. The police have spoken in full defiance of these lockdown measures. And this is a really, really huge moment, because it means for people all along the spectrum of awakening and conspiracy and all this, there's a big time unity occurring in terms of focus and results. It's really good stuff.
It's a good sign to me that, it feels like a lot of people are coming together on this.
Yes, it does, actually.
So you get like a taste for it. And I think it's such a good feeling. And people are really amped up. They're really feeling like more connectivity. There's more people saying yes. Stand up. Please do something, whatever is right for you. You have to feel something about it now. And act on it a little bit more now.
I think people have to as well. Like, I think they're feeling that pressure. Like, they have to say something. I'm seeing that's like that doctor that sent me that video.
Yes.
Who was just like, I do not normally get into anything political. He's like, I'm not someone to speak out online about issues, but but I had to say something. And this is the line that's being drawn in the sand, and it's happening in Ontario. And I'm really glad that Ontario is in the spotlight in world news as being so intensely locked down, and yet having horrible case numbers, which is, that's a whole other story, which we could get into. But the point is that to have Ontario on the world stage under this lockdown, and then to have police across this whole province stand up against the lockdown measures, it's good. Amazing. It's good. And, I've seen pictures of
reaffirming to people.
It is. People need it. They need it. But, we've seen some pictures of this happening elsewhere, right? Of police standing with lockdown protesters. It's not a first. Of course, this has happened. I've seen a couple in Europe, I believe.
I've seen Germany and Italy, like some.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, because, police are human beings. I mean, it's great. It's not totally shocking, but to see it en masse across a whole province, across, Ontario, it's really meaningful. It's really meaningful. So going out into the city today actually was very hopeful. Mm-hmm. I got to say that, considering how sort of devastating these new measures were, because it's like right back to ground zero, that's what they were trying to do anyways.
Yeah, they've already taken away buying anything they deemed non-essential. And so,
which is ridiculous, right?
It's so ridiculous. And try telling the kids and, why they can't get, supplies like markers
or toys
or anything, clothing.
And here's the thing is that the attack on the kids is really apparent, and I really hope people are seeing it now. It's becoming more and more obvious that the children are targets in what is a war. Really important to see. You go and look at what's been cut off in the stores in Ontario. A lot of it greatly harms children. So not only do they close schools, but then they cut off school supplies. They cut off toys. They cut off any avenue of joy that children could possibly be seeking in these conditions. To me, it's very obvious. It's very targeted.
And then they took away the playgrounds for a few hours.
And then the playgrounds, right? And now, so there was a pushback, and now Doug Ford has said, okay, I'll open the playgrounds. I have to say, and I said this to Amanda, I'm wary about this because Doug Ford's classic tactic is the double bait switchback, where he claims he's going to do something really extreme, and then people go, peas and carrots. And then he takes one thing back to make people feel like they created that change, when all along his initial intention was the final result, right? That was the end game. So having seen him do that like 1,000 times, I'm a bit weary. But the awakening, the force it has caused, the unity it has caused in the people is really something that is occurring, that aside, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not this is a tactic by him, it's still, people are rising up. There was the cop that stood up for the gym, Huff Gym in Mississauga. He broke social distancing and masking protocols. He stood for a business opening mid-lockdown. So, I mean, that's like the peak of police resistance to me, because he was just
incredible.
Like all lockdown measures, hard no. He's been suspended. We stand with him. That is like hardcore bravery.
He stood up to protect their constitutional rights, their
right
to stay open as a gym.
Yep.
And the mayor was pissed off, and there was like a lot
of drama
on. Yeah,
but it's good because that symbol will not die. That police officer hugging people outside of a business that is staying open,
taken down from Instagram a few times.
Oh really? Not surprising. Very meaningful, though.
A picture of a police officer maskless hugging a person is being removed from Instagram. It's being censored.
Why?
Why?
Really good question.
Again, I don't know how much evidence.
I know. Why would you remove a picture of a maskless cop hugging a maskless civilian, which is their right? Okay, look, it's. Anyways, beautiful thing. So really, the symbolism of the police rising up, it was really interesting because that happened first.
Yeah.
Right. There was the police officer standing up for Huff Jim, and then the Toronto police tweeted about not breaking the Constitution.
Before it was announced.
Before it was announced that Doug Ford was going to unleash the police on people to keep them home, Toronto police preemptively tweeted stating that they will not be stopping people randomly in the streets in their vehicles or anything like that. They will not be breaking that law. So they state that. Then Ford releases this announcement stating that the police will be enforcing this. And then just the rest of the police forces in Ontario basically all publicly spoke out against it in a big just flurry of dissent and civil disobedience. And I mean, this is it. Like united non-compliance. This is united non-compliance. It's going down. Yes, Ontario. Be that image for the world.
At the same time today too. Yeah, it's amazing. The usual marches every Saturday. March down to CTV outside the doors. Just yelling in the streets. Stop the lies. End the lies. On and on. It's just
tell the truth.
Tell
the truth. So people gathered outside of CTV News downtown Toronto today to chant "Tell the truth" over and over again. Now, the context of this is pretty incredible because there have been thousands of people protesting in the streets of Toronto for months and months now, and CTV News has not covered this. So finally, or maybe I haven't been following it. Maybe this has been done before. I don't want to state that this was happening for the first time because maybe they've been there before, but I don't think so. But the point is that today they gathered in front of CTV News and openly chanted "Tell the truth." Now, I'm going to be checking the 11 o'clock news tonight to see if CTV News, if it broke through. I don't think it will have broken through. I don't think so.
It wasn't in their breaking news.
But it's very good for people to see.
When thousands of people stand outside your door screaming, and you're a news station, and you're one of the major news stations, and there's not a peep on your website, there's nothing in the breaking news.
Nothing in your Twitter.
Police.
That's right. You're journalists.
Blockade you to protect you.
So that means there are journalists inside that building who were aware of the humans yelling in the streets at them and were told to do nothing to not report it.
Yeah.
Right? That means CTV is so controlled and contained that a curious journalist working in that building could not or would not step outside and ask the people and report on what's occurring at their own news station. Like, think about
reporters, not even global.
Why would a single news reporter not step outside of CTV, of one of the top news stations in Canada?
It's insane.
It's such basic logic. Think about it. Okay? All you would need is for a journalist to step outside. Like, if this is all crazy conspiracy theorists, it's very easy to step outside and say, why are you outside our news station? What is going on? And then you tell the world, what these kooks objectively say they're doing here. So the fact that that's occurring in Toronto is a really good sign because it's a high contrast to what we're seeing in terms of like people in the streets. Most people are masked here. Like, out in the beautiful weather, they're going around masked, and that varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. So, what was it? Oh yeah, we went to Christie Pitts in Toronto, which is a little bit east of us, right, closer to the central downtown, and there were almost no masked people. So think about this: like the pockets of the city, like there being a total 180-degree like shift in how people are actually wearing masks only like 20 minutes apart. It's pretty telling, right? It means that you have like a great contrast occurring in this city and it's not being reported on. So it's really hard to track. So if CTV News and Global News and CBC and City TV, if they won't report on this, it's really hard to know what are our numbers? What are our true numbers? How many people support this who are afraid to go to a protest downtown, who are afraid of losing their jobs? You know, we marched with a friend at the protest, and, you know, he made it clear that he was an immigrant, you know, coming from another country, and that he was trying to be careful not to get seen on anyone's social media or the news because he didn't want to lose his chance at a visa because of how politically charged this whole situation is. So, like, what are the numbers of people that are quiet right now that believe they can't, or maybe really their life circumstances mean that they genuinely can't, you know?
It's risky.
Who knows? Who knows? You know, maybe someone's in a situation with like an abusive partner who won't let them speak out. I mean, there's so many things going on.
Well, you also risk losing your family.
We know this is happening. People are losing friends and family like wildfire over this.
Have been estranged from friends and family because they've decided to have different beliefs, you know, and also many people have hidden their beliefs because they've been afraid. So I know also, you know, a lot of people coming forward being like, I felt this all along, but I never felt safe because I was afraid to be canceled. I was afraid that you would lose all your friends and your job maybe too. Like, and other things. Like, it's a little intense.
Yes. I mean, we're in a position where we can speak out and the stakes aren't as super high for us. And so, you know, we're very privileged in that way, but it's good to see, you know, and I think watching this ripple through people, watching that happen, you know, that connections are being made, you know, that people who were disagreeing are finding a way to come together. Like, this is clearly going down, right?
Ford is a new
trending.
Hashtag.
Yeah, Fire Doug Ford is trending.
Like people on all sides.
So Roman Baber, one of the MPs who's been very outspoken about this, his narrative currently on Instagram, at least, is that Ford is already fired. We already did it.
Yeah.
And now what's the next step? Consider him out of office, but what do we do now, right? Let's not be short-sighted. To remove him from power is only one thing.
Yeah.
So bring your vision forward to what we have to do next. And, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to talk about because, let's be real, Doug Ford is not the maniacal creator of the COVID narrative. This is a man who has been put in a position in which he has very little power. Okay, I know it seems like he's the powerful guy abusing everyone, and you know, I saw some people gathered at Doug Ford's house today, and don't get me wrong, he's responsible. He's responsible for his position of leadership. Like, I don't.
Yeah, he could have stood up.
He could have. He has had many chances he said no to. Why he said no to them, I don't know. There could be some very shady things going on. Could be bribery, coercion, extortion,
but that it's political suicide. So we know that at least he cares about his politics and like his standing in politics.
Yes, but the truth is, you remove. This is a global narrative. Okay, so there are places around the world being dominated by this narrative.
Yeah,
you remove one Canadian. It does not go away.
Yes.
So you have to really get real about who are the arbiters of this narrative, and this is what I hope this brings people. What I hope it brings skeptical Ontarians to. Okay, if Doug Ford wasn't the source of this bullshit, who is? Right? If he's gone and it all continues, which I think it might, to be honest, I think even if we remove him, magically it will still just... It'll be there because, look, it saturates the media.
Other provinces.
The media won't talk about us being in the streets maskless with no social distancing every single weekend for months.
I know.
They won't even admit that it's happening in the biggest city in Canada.
The controlled media. Like, at this point, you know, you can't trust anything they're saying. Nothing. It's fully controlled. It's fully controlled. But Canadians seeing that, I mean, this is another really great thing that can happen, right? Because if Doug Ford's terribly wrong, then so is
all the news in Canada that's been right alongside his narrative, right? Mm-hmm. So, Canadians, if you're really against Doug Ford, you want to fire Doug Ford, what do you really think of the news media that propped up his narrative, that helped him bring down that hammer? Like, they're not innocent in this, right? They took a strong position. They took a very strong position. Doug Ford at least is admitting that he's being political. The news claims they're being altruistic and health-based and medical, right? Doug Ford is more transparent than the news, frankly. Well, after having said that,
I saw quite a few sources like CBC and all of them bashing Doug Ford for not being harsh enough.
There we go. All
along,
there we go.
There was a lot of talk about not going hard enough. And this is actually, I've heard this from a few friends now and family members, that they started to adopt that mindset, that it was like really logical. Well, it's like, well, Doug Ford hasn't like fully locked down. So if we just try it.
That's because
they had already absorbed that narrative of Ford, and I've been seeing it in the news for months.
But then it's openly admitted that these are the harshest lockdown measures in North America. Talking about dissenters, when you were saying that Doug Ford wasn't doing it hard enough, but now we see that it's like draconian here, and they're failing. So it's like, it takes such a small amount of free thinking. It's just like it's such a small amount. It's such a small amount of free thinking to see they did all of this and the cases are high. So did it work? No.
We are in the harshest lockdown that we've had, and that's going on in North America.
Driving me crazy.
And they're telling us that it's somehow, like I was watching this video of this woman who works for the University Health Network here in Toronto. She's some sort of doctor. She's involved with a modeling group. And Global News is just interviewing her, and she's just hollow, and he's hollow, and there's nothing going on. And he's like, please tell us what is happening. And she's just like, I just, it's so bad. And they go on in this charade and this acting, and he's like, well, you paint a gloomy picture.
But it's so removed, because what she's saying is so bad.
Awful.
I know, but what she's saying is so bad. This woman on a public news station is saying is so bad is just the models that she won't even show to you. Okay, so models aren't science. They're not science, right? They're not scientific. By the admittance of these same public health officials, models are not scientific, okay? They're loose. They're janky. So janky.
Their modeling shows like 30,000 cases a day.
I know.
Ontario.
I know, but it's even worse than that, June. Because they're
going crazy here. They're going just like they're like, we've lost all control.
But it's not just a shitty model. It's someone saying this model's so scary, but also I won't show you the model this time.
They won't.
So we're gonna lock you down harder than ever. And we're going to cite insane models that we have admitted aren't scientific, but also we're going to hide that unscientific model from you. That's so many layers of stupid. It's so many layers.
They're just going to tell you their experience of the models. And
that's right. So this is a professional explaining their abstract experience of the models they won't release on the news station they're speaking on.
She won't speak.
That's right. Yes, exactly, Amber. They will not release the models that are the basis for the current lockdown measures.
Maybe they have now somewhere hidden, but
at this point in the narrative, when you were watching this news clip, which was very recently,
it was yesterday.
Who can keep up with it? So forgive us if this has now shifted briefly, but no, at this time it was true that they were hiding the models and enforcing the lockdown orders.
But they've done that so many times. They've done it so many times throughout this. It's been like, I'll view it. It's kind of like what Facebook does. It's like, I'll review this information and make sure. Like, it's like, you're my fucking parents. Excuse me. No.
Well, so people are
Like,
finally getting upset about it. They're finally getting upset about it. But the question is, will the lockdowners and the maskers who are now finally like, no, as if now it's bad, but will they look back and see that this is what was going on the whole time? The whole time, this is what they were doing. Shady models that sometimes they didn't even tell you about were then leading, because in Canada, I don't think this is happening in the States as much, but in Canada, a lot of the meetings with the models, with experts and politicians, were behind closed doors, were classified to the public and to the media. So a lot of the meetings that have gone down here in Canada that have led to mass, generic, vague public policy have come from closed door meetings.
It's messed up. To
which Canadian citizens and Canadian media have no access.
I've seen many people who work for public health, like in Toronto, fighting it too, who are like, this is crazy. Like, we work for public health and we're denied.
Yes, public health experts are like, we want to be at those meetings.
You're not allowed.
And they cannot, because this is a legit pandemic. That's why.
Very proud
of Okay. Sure.
They're looking out for us.
Yes, because they have behind closed doors, they have our best health and wellness in mind in their heart. In their hearts, they care about you. And so follow the rules, put on your mask, socially distance, kill your business. Kill it.
But I will say, too, if you are, feeling like it was difficult before to dissent and do certain things, it's getting easier.
Yeah.
Like, there actually is.
Yes.
Even though, again, I know this affects a lot of people mentally, this lockdown. There is a lot of people affected.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you want to go mask free, if you want to take the next step, if you want to sometimes go less, like here, you can do that. Like, there's a lot of, you may get people looking at you at most. Like, there is, and we've actually even seen, people at the store who've been traumatized by anti-mask people.
Okay, this happened to me today. I should tell this story.
Yeah.
This is really, really interesting, guys. Okay, so I went to LCBO, and I do not wear a mask. I do not. I cite an exemption, as is my right. And this LCBO, and for you American people, that's a liquor store. It's a government-run liquor store. So I went in to grab some drinks, and I'm in the freezer grabbing cans, and I hear someone talking to me, and I close the door, and it's one of the employees, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, you need a mask." And I turned to him and just said, "I have an exemption. Thank you." And he got really afraid. He literally went, "It's just a question. It's just a question." So genuinely scared. And I just said, "Sir, it's fine. You're doing your job. It's all good. No worries." And I went about my day. And then I went to go pay for the alcohol. And the employee at the desk, at the cashier, said, "Oh, do you have a mask?" And I explained, "No, I have an exemption." And she got really nervous and started telling all sorts of stories about how she only does it when she doesn't recognize someone. And now she sort of recognizes me. And she just was nervously backpedaling because she felt weird about it. And so it was clear that both these employees, had been put in the position where they felt they had to enforce the mask rule, but then had been met with pushback by people citing exemptions. And that reveals the trauma on both sides. I think it shows you that a lot of people being asked who are citing their exemptions, they have probably been mistreated. I know I've been treated pretty poorly because of it. Lots of human rights abuses where I've been totally singled out, and all those things. And I know it's probably been easy for me compared to a lot of people, really. And so they have that trauma. But then I guess, a lot of people have stood up very forcefully for themselves. And so you have employees still trying to do their due diligence, but then actually in their bodies, they have trauma that they might be attacked for asking this question. So this is a lose-lose, okay? And this is social engineering 101. This is like the best example of social engineering, dividing people into two groups and pitting them against each other. Because now both groups are mentally unwell. Both groups feel righteous, right? Both groups think they're being of service to the truth. Meanwhile, someone else is puppeteering them. That's what's going on right now. That's like it crystallized, you know? It was crazy seeing how scared this guy was. I couldn't believe it. I just felt so bad. I just wanted to like soften this man's heart. He like clearly had been berated by someone who, you know, was pro-face, which I also understand.
Yeah. You know, we were in the grocery store the other day too, and there were a couple, like at least a few more people masks off. Someone was making a video, taking off their mask in the store.
Doing a mask-free shopping video.
So I just feel like there's a lot. I feel like it's just, you know, if it's been too hard for you to do those things because the tension and the stress was so high up until, you know, I just feel like there's a little bit lessening at this point.
Yeah.
And you can sort of dip your toes in if you haven't been going mask free and you've been wanting to, and you want to try and stand up for yourself. I think it's a little bit easier to just state your exemption and
yeah, you have to find your position in the moment.
The fear that they're trying to portray again in the mainstream media is something that doesn't really exist. Like they're trying to get you to take it on. So yeah, I think it's quite amazing in a lot of ways. And you know, the kids too, they you know, the malls are closed or whatever. I guess you can go and pick up your ordered packages. And so my sister had the kids the other day, and the kids know what's going on. And they're like, you know what? We want to see toys. Like, we want to, you know, they immediately start thinking. I mean, Asher immediately starts thinking about how he's going to dissent and how he's going to get toys.
I was so proud of Asher. I was so proud of Asher. Okay, so I'm like a lover of like buying toys. Like he's into consumerism. Like he likes consumer culture and, you know, whatever. Like he's passionate about it because he has ideas about toys and games and worlds. And like you watch him grab onto this and just create worlds with it. It's so amazing. And so he's very, very passionate about this. And so, you know, there's a lot of negotiating in our family in terms of like toy purchases. This is something that comes up. Like he's always negotiating the next toy purchase. He wants, you know, he really, really wants to go and save his money and purchase toys and go through that experience, which is awesome. But it does mean a lot of negotiating. So this was so incredible because as soon as the lockdown was implemented, they cut off the toy sections in the Dollarama. They shut down the toy sections in Walmart, all of it. And we explained to Asher, like they've made buying toys illegal. They've stopped the stores from selling them. And his immediate response was to start to assess every store he went into to see if any of them were breaking or bending the rules in any way. And it was within like 2 days of the lockdown measures, he had already found 2 different stores or 2 different locations where he could purchase toys and go against the lockdown measures and get toys, even though they were trying to say toys are dangerous, toys spread COVID, you know, this insane message. So I was just like, you know, I was so mad proud of him when I realized that like this is his civil disobedience, you know, this is him saying no. No, it's not right. I want to buy a toy, and I know that you should not be able to stop me from doing this. And because he understands, right? Like he understands the fight for freedom that's going on right now.
So
he is not juvenile about it in his thinking. Actually, it's quite incredible.
Yeah, and when, you know, my sister took them to the mall, and then they had to sort of be aggressive with the security guard because technically you're not supposed to be going in the mall unless you're picking up a package. But she needed to use the facilities, and the kids wanted to go, and there's gumball machines, or stuff like that. And so, you know, my sister had to sort of forcefully stand up to the security guard for the kids and for herself. And you know, it's powerful when kids see you do those things as well. Like
I'm so proud of Katie for doing that with the kids, man.
And going toys, and it,
again, this was another experience where Asher was like, no, we're gonna get toys.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a kid. Toys, I'm gonna bring them home. I'm gonna play with them, and you are not gonna stop me. And it's just so awesome that his aunt, shout out to Katie. Honestly, like, it was badass that she performed civil disobedience to stand up for herself, to stand up for the kids. And just said, fine, call the police,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like,
go
call
ahead.
The police. I'm going in.
We
and not be afraid and just
and
do
so
it.
That's right. So our kids are getting exposed to civil disobedience just plainly in front of them. Today, technically, us going to Dufferin Grove Park today was civil disobedience, because it had been announced that the parks were closed. And, it's really... I think it's super important because, I've had people dissent against me online saying, like, you're teaching your kids that they should only follow the rules when it's nice for them. And, I guess I can see how someone would get lost thinking that, well, early on, I guess I saw a lot of people get lost thinking that anyone who was against this was just annoyed by the inconvenience.
Yes.
Their own lives were being messed with and they just didn't want it. I don't want a social distance. I don't want a mask. Leave me alone. No, it's just a shallow... yeah, like it's some sort of shallow, attempt at just keeping your life code. And really, that was never really what's going on ever. That was a narrative that was, pushed along. So I don't know. It's nice to see a lot of that, like, just breaking apart with all of this, and to have the kids witness it, and to just like be in a space that is the most locked down, but also where there's obvious dissent occurring around us. And our youngest, Idris, this is very strange to watch because he started to talk about how, masks are just people, like people wearing masks, that's people. Recently, we really saw him normalize it, where he put a mask on and said, I look like people. And, he's watching people very carefully, as kids that age do. And every time we're taking him to an event where people are willing to be maskless, I mean, it's like, it's a genuine gift to him.
Yeah.
It is, Yeah. It's, I don't think people get that.
We just don't know what will happen. Like, he is one of the kids Asher as well, but Idris is younger. So his development, we know Asher needs to see face. I know I need to see face. But for Idris, it's so different. Like, he was quite young. And so, we'll see what happens. Obviously, he's one of yeah, I look like people.
Yeah.
It's just...
I know. And he's really trying to figure out his community members.
Yeah.
Like, I noticed it a lot recently, when I was leaving with the kids today, when I was leaving with Idris tonight for the nighttime walk to get him to go to sleep. He's like, Dad, look, it's a person. It's a person in a blue coat. It's a person in a blue coat. And he's just like, he's looking to assess what his community members are about, what's going on with them. And unfortunately, in our building, in our neighborhood, in our area of Toronto, it's like a 99% mask ratio. If we lived by Christie Pitts, he would just see his community members' faces. Now, that's not about a virus. That's just like pockets of social engineering working more deeply on some people than it is on others. That's not science. That's ridiculous. That's just like, it's random. It's random which people will and will not. And this is so silly. It's so silly. And the fallout of this is children not getting access to what they need in terms of community, right? In terms of their community members.
It's a huge experiment.
Unjustifiable. Ridiculous. But it is causing, a good pushback. And I really hope that it causes left and right-wing people in Canada to set aside their differences and stand for truth, like basic truth, freedoms. Like, but really, like, come on, like, look back. And if you do realize how much you're being cheated in this scenario, got to look back because it's the same way they cheated us the whole way down this entire narrative. You trace it back, and it was all blown up models. It was all blown up models. That's how the whole thing started.
I know, but they're still going on them.
Yeah.
Still going on. It's going to get worse, apparently, here.
Well,
somehow.
I said this months ago that they want to cancel summer, right? Summer is a big uprising in Toronto. It's the biggest, the densest city in Canada. And in Canada, we go through hard winters in a lot of areas. And in Toronto, we go through hard winters every year. So when people come into summer, they're amped here. They're amped. There's dudes wearing shorts in the cold, just being like, it's warm. It's warm now. I know it. People are ready. They're thirsty for it. And you feel it every year. The whole city changes every summer. And I know they want to squash that vibe. And I know this because it's psychological warfare. And that vibe is dangerous to this psychological war being won by, the deep staters and the CCP and all the creep shows running this narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Amber, you feel me. You know how it goes. Oh my goodness. But I'm thrilled to be raising children through this. I gotta say.
It's a great opportunity.
We're raising revolutionaries. Badass. It's awesome. Free thinkers. Oh, man. Because you know what? Asher will not be controlled. They're like, for real. He's hardcore. But I'm like, oh, I see why a kid like that's being born right now. Holy shit. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
This kid's
he has the energy to fight. He will fight.
Our son is like this. He's like archetype. It kind of trips me out. He's like a Greek archetype sometimes in the way that he behaves about things. And truly, he is dead set on not being controlled. He's often just you will not control me. And, with the kids, sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is a power struggle. But when I think about that as a driving, life path force in a world that is obsessed with controlling people.
Yeah.
He's just going to kick the shit out of so many systems and boundaries.
When he understands that he's being controlled in many ways. That's the thing for him.
That's why seeing the toys,
helpful.
Seeing Asher's impulse to get around the lockdown and find toys against the laws against toys right now so quickly, I'm his instincts are on point. It's the same way he is with us. He sees systems of control and he evades them.
Yes.
That's his natural instinct.
Yeah.
He's just oh yeah, there's a control system. No, I'm not doing that.
War.
Yeah, he's at war. He's a 6-year-old that's at war, but whatever. He's faced death multiple times. He's hardcore. I get it. Whatever. He is. He's great, but it's cool to watch. It's really cool to watch. And God, I just want to rip masks off children as I go through the city so inappropriately. Pull it off, children. I don't know. I have to control myself to not berate fathers for failing their children. It's very difficult. Very difficult. Anyways, hey, what's in the diffuser right now? I'm really it's got me good right now. Ginger, heavy on the ginger right now.
Feeling ginger.
Why?
It's just empowering. It's so.
If you have ginger essential oil, just get it up in you.
Yes.
For real. It's very good right now. It's very helpful.
Yeah, and paired with clary sage, which is just I also find so illuminating, and it helps you remove illusions, and and then with basil in there as well, it focuses the mind, which is really helpful.
Basil sharpens me very quickly. I gotta say, basil oil.
Yeah.
Well, we've been really working the oils through a lot of this. And they've been a major guiding source through a lot of the difficulties of this. I gotta say, even with the kids today, it was very, very helpful to have them around.
Oh, really?
Asher worked with the shadow blend that you made me, and he loved it. He was very excited about it.
Very interesting.
Very successful.
Okay. Yeah, well, that has black pepper.
Oh, Amber, you didn't hear me. Okay, when I said get it up in you, let me go back for you. I was talking about ginger essential oil. That's what, yeah. That's what I was talking about. Just so there's no confusion. Get some ginger essential oil, some really good stuff. Yeah.
Empowerment.
So empowering, for real, and very important right now because we all got to step into our power because,
it's true.
This is our planet.
Take off your mask.
Take off your mask.
Put on some ginger oil.
Or cover your mask in ginger oil so that you can power to rip it off. I don't know. Try and take off your mask though, at least in more situations. Like maybe, if it's really nerve-wracking, then just do it in a convenience store. Yeah. Just do it in one place. Like start to just play a little bit with freedom. Because really, the law
somewhere where you don't know the people as much.
Yeah, when it's not your community members. Yeah. Go to a store where you don't have community members and just practice the actual physical feeling. Because there's a lot of psychology that is tied to the sensation of the mask and to the visual of a mask on others.
Yeah.
This impacts us so deeply. Yeah. I could go on about it for hours.
But it's true. If you anchor it with an essential oil, when you do something like that, like a ginger oil or anything else that you feel like is empowering, like anchor it before and after you go in, don't wear a mask, come out and anchor it with an oil, then it will create that emotional pattern. And so you can go back to that oil when you need those times, when you need to just call it back, right? So you're trying to create that.
Also, if you're stuck in a position where you have to mask, like a work style scenario, and you're a conspiracy theorist that's worried about nanobots and Morgellons being hidden in the mask, which I've seen a lot of videos about. So, fellow conspiracy theorists, I have seen this. And yes, very disgusting.
Disturbing.
But if I were in that position, I would be drenching my masks in essential oils. Yeah. Because that's probably going to kill just about anything anyone put on that mask. For real. Mm-hmm. And then you just get smell, flowers or ginger or whatever. But putting essential oils on masks.
It's smart.
Very smart. Very sanitary. Very efficient.
It can actually help you clear your sinuses.
And just straight up in the pharmaceutical companies' faces because they hate essential oils because it messes their whole jam up.
Yeah.
Because they just want to reduce little isolated elements of things. They don't want, whole plant-based things. I don't know why I made a horse noise when I did that.
What?
I don't know. I cannot explain that. I can't explain that, but
okay.
Felt appropriate in the moment.
Cool.
Yes, Jeanette, do it. Really, it's helped us in multiple scenarios. I'll say that when this whole scenario, this whole lockdown narrative started, we early on ended up going on a trip to North Carolina, and we got the masks that are like I don't know, what do you call them? The ones that go around your neck.
It's just like a scarf.
Whatever, the scarf style ones. And I immediately stained mine with essential oils. Right away, I was like, oh.
It's better if you
now, have a spray. I get a spray. So let's be practical. Let's not tell people to just dump oils on their mask like I did, goonishly, leaving splattered drops of oil all over it. So I just look kind of gross when I wear or when I wore it on the trip.
God.
Don't do that. Don't be grimy and janky like me. Yes, put it in a spray bottle and spray the mask.
Yes.
There we go. Professional wellness advice. You corrected it just in time before someone ruined their mask. Or if you ruined your mask already, I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's true. That's good.
I think that's all I have to say right now today.
Me too.
But we'll, you know what? I think we should do more lives. Let's do more lives. Maybe we'll do some on Instagram in the next few days.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Just gonna throw that out there. I don't know. Or maybe not.
Oh gosh. Thank you guys.
Thanks everyone who joined us for this impromptu live. We're gonna go rest and be merry.
Yeah.
We love you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly.
Freedom.
Freedom. Typing it as well. Lots of love, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.